Hey.
Yes, people, and welcome back to Punches and Pundits. Now, before we start, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube. And if you are listening to any sort of audio platform, make sure to download the episode so that you're notified when we post. Well, let's start it off. UFC 311 was a couple hours ago. Now, we thought it was going to be one particular fight that was going to main event the 311. And 24 hours before, Arman Sarukian dropped out. Now, I got to be honest, I wasn't on my phone. I just checked my phone. I'm seeing Arman's out. Moicano steps in. Now, Islam Makhachev against Arman was a fight where we expected it to be seriously competitive. I still had Makhachev winning, but Moicano stepping in, I understand, like, the opportunity at the belt. He's number 10 ranked. He was on a streak. But, man, it wasn't really competitive. Within 5 minutes, Islam Makhachev, Das choked him, just like he did Dustin Poirier. And he cements himself as the number one pound for pound, according to Dana White.
Dana finally accepted Makhachev being a pound for pound number one. Another black belt that Makhachev has submitted. Some of these black belts need to be confiscated from these fighters. But yeah, listen, we can't be too harsh on Moicano. You know, he pretty much saved the card, to be honest. Well, not the card, but they saved the main event. And fair play to him. He looked all right on the feet. But listen, we knew as the fight went on, Makhachev would get him down eventually. And he did it pretty early. And listen, it was a clinic. You know, Makhachev didn't even have a scratch. You could fight next week if you wanted to. It was a very, very dominant performance. And yeah, like Louis said, with Sarukian being out, you know, we were both looking forward to that fight. You know, the scrambles. Yeah, exactly. The scrambles. Their first fight was very competitive. Both have improved since. So for Sarukian to be out of that fight was a bummer. And Dana's
24 hours before as well.
24 hours before. And apparently it's a back injury, but I mean, I'm not too sure
well, this is the thing. Like, and I was speaking about this to a couple of people. It's like, he had a prior injury that he didn't tell the UFC. Now, already, when Dana White said Arman Sarukian is not going to be next for the next title shot at 155, I have a feeling it's also because you were going to go into that fight injured to the point where if you're weight cutting and your back's... We don't know the nature of the injury. It could be back spasms. It could be, you know, like, he said he couldn't move. He couldn't even stand up. So it's pretty serious. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And Dana just seemed pissed that not only did he was going to conceal it, but what if 2 minutes into the fight, Arman's just like, he pulls up, you can't move, fight's over. Then all that hype, do you know what I'm trying to say? So Sarukian's going to have to fight again. Now, if we're playing matchmaker now, the 155 pound division, Islam, I mean, he wins again. He's number one pound for pound. Charles Oliveira was there. If Arman's not getting the next shot, it looks like it's going to be Charles. And you know how I feel about Charles. You know, like, that is my guy. But it's hard to... I mean, Islam is just so good. And people will say, yeah, it was Moicano. You don't really rate Moicano like that, because you even thought Dariush would beat him.
To be honest, yeah, I even thought that he wouldn't beat Benoit, but he proved me wrong. It's not about that. It's just about styles and matchups. And I could just see it coming from a mile away, you know, the first round submission. I even said it before the fight. This has a one-round submission job written all over it. But with the next fight, I mean, with Sarukian as well pulling out, Dana was very harsh as well in the post-fight press conference, saying he has to fight again, you know.
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah, back to the drawing board. You're thinking, give him a shot, you know. Because if you think about it, it looks like Oliveira will get the shot next then, if Sarukian's not getting the shot. Hooker and Gaethje have just been announced. We'll speak on that. Who really is there for Sarukian to fight in the meantime?
Well, he said he wants Charles 5 rounds.
But will Charles accept that fight?
Of course not.
Yeah, that fight's a good fight for Oliveira, of course. It's a good fight for Sarukian. But it's not a good fight for Oliveira. It's a risky fight. Oliveira will probably want to hold out for the title shot. You know?
No, ultimately, if you're Charles, you do not move from your space. I mean, the win against Chandler, some people will argue, it's kind of like, to make a reference, it's Strickland beating Paulo Costa, and now he's fighting Duplessis again. Charles, I expected Charles to beat Chandler convincingly, which he did. Chandler was, number 7 or number 8, and Charles was number 2 or number 1. It is what it is, but people forget. before Volkanovski stepped in, Charles and Islam was booked. There's appetite to see that fight again. And ultimately, I got to be honest, right? As much as I feel like Islam has to fight Charles and Arman and then 170. That's the route.
But I don't see the 170 fight happening. If Bilal's the champion, he's not going to fight Bilal. Him and Bilal, they're close, they're friends. Bilal has spent time with his camp. And you've even got Shavkat, who could be.
You don't
Bilal.
think Islam fights Shavkat?
I don't think he fights Shavkat as well, because they also go back. Shavkat at one point was.
Yeah, but they haven't.
Manap. You know, they're both from the Caucasus regions. They don't really like fighting each other, these guys, you know. So.
Well, then Islam just has to take out.
That's the thing. So
I mean.
Unless somebody else can pop up at 170, become champion. I don't know, Leon can get the belt again. Or Madalena or someone like that.
Carlos Prates.
Yeah, or Prates maybe in the future. Then we might see Makhachev go up. But if those two guys, Bilal and
Or
Shavkat,
he welcomes a mega fight with Topuria.
Yeah, but that's a cracker. But if those two at welterweight remain at the top of the division, I doubt we'll see Makhachev go up in weight. You know, he's talking about he wants to go up to 185. I think he mentioned
he said he would beat Dricus. He would have beat Dricus.
Yeah, the disrespect on Dricus' name again.
It's crazy.
You know, people
Islam Makhachev would not beat Dricus.
People need to we even saw a little clip of Adesanya and Whitaker, who are best buddies, all of a sudden. Yeah. And they're talking about Dricus is like
he's like the best worst fighter.
You know. You know, he finished both of those guys. So
he choked one out and TKO'd the other.
So I'm saying, so Dracus is unorthodox.
No. Are we actually, bro? Islam.
He's unorthodox.
Dustin Poirier was stuffing your takedowns.
Exactly.
For the best part of 22, 23 minutes. Yeah. I promise you. What you gonna try to think?
To be fair, Dustin performed very well. To be honest, until he got stopped, Dustin was doing very well.
Bro, his training camp, he was training with Gamrot. But that's what I'm saying. He was just.
You could possibly do. I mean, Dustin apparently he's only got one more fight left, retirement.
And
fight.
now that Gaethje.
Yeah, Hooker's been announced. You could do Sarukian Poirier, but then is that a fight for Poirier to take as his retirement fight? No. But Poirier would probably want a fourth fight with McGregor, or a fun fight to kind of go out. His last fight might even be at 170. So we don't really know where Poirier is at, but
we don't know.
It puts Sarukian in a very, very awkward position. And it's interesting because we've seen guys pull out last minute, and Dana and the UFC brass still give them the title shot. So I think something's happened.
What kind of examples?
I mean, there's plenty, but
Charles,
my head.
Charles pulled out. He didn't get the immediate.
Yeah, but if someone like Sarukian, who's been on a bit of a streak, who hasn't lost since his last loss to Makhachev, I think it's a no-brainer to give him the shot, especially if the back injury was a legit injury.
Yeah, but if I'm saying to you, when Charles Oliveira pulled out because of that cut above his eye when they booked. Charles Oliveira is a bigger star than Arman. It would make more money for the UFC, and they still didn't rebook that.
Yeah. But the reason why, though, was that Dana said Charles went AWOL, and he never worked with the UFC doctors. They kind of went to their own.
So you feel like they punish Charles as well?
Dana takes that kind of stuff personal.
He does.
The UFC have
I don't think it's just Dana. It's Hunter and
it's the
Sean
UFC
Shelby.
brass. They have doctors who are available on standby, who make good money. The UFC pay them good money. They're there to kind of save the cards. If someone's injured or someone's got a cut, they will sort you out and get you ready. If you kind of go AWOL and not go with the UFC doctors, then Dana will punish you. And I think Arman done the same thing. I don't think it's been announced yet, possibly, but Arman possibly done the same thing. That's why he's being punished. Because that's the only fight that makes sense. That's a closer fight. You know what I mean? In terms of, Oliveira's a good fight as well, but the Arman Makhachev fight is scrambles galore. The amount of scrambles, if he struggled, if he was kind of working really hard and struggling to get Poirier down, then you could say Sarukian could stuff all the takedowns, and then it would be a striking matchup. So that would. I
still think if Charles and Sarukian were to fight 5 rounds, Charles would beat him.
Charles, to be fair, it was a good fight. It was a close fight. Charles
nearly choked him out twice.
Yeah, I know. Got him. It's just Charles. Sometimes I've always said it. Sometimes he just accepts.
But Charles, the way Charles fought Chandler, offensive wrestling and his grappling, where he wasn't like, we're going on my back.
But that Caucasus wrestling is different.
I know, but
wrestling from places like Armenia, the Russia, Dagestan, Chechnya, these guys, their wrestling is different gravy.
So is Islam Makhachev number 1 pound for pound? Now that Dana White said it,
you have to say he is because he's active.
He is.
But if Jones can get
If he beats Aspinall, yeah.
I mean, Dana, to be fair, we've had some decent news as well. We can kind of speak on that quickly. Dana said the Aspinall-Jones fight is being close. I mean, it's close to being finalized. So if the UFC can get that fight over the line, and if Jones can beat Aspinall, you know, he'd be a clear pound-for-pound number one. But yeah, the main event was a good performance from Makhachev.
Just 5 minutes though. It's just like you know when a main event
but
just finishes.
Did what he's supposed to do. And
of course.
And to be fair to him, we've seen in the past where Jones was supposed to fight, and his opponent pulled out, and the UFC said fight Chael Sonnen, and he said no, I will not fight somebody.
Or even when it happened to Khabib and he fought Al Iaquinta.
Yeah, but to be fair, Khabib said I'd fight anyone.
No, but I'm saying the performance that Khabib put against Al Iaquinta, he didn't finish him.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is there's fighters like Jones in the past. I mean, there's probably others, but Jones is the big name I could think of where he's refused a late replacement fighter. So the fact
that's not good.
The fact that Makhachev accepted it, that's also another reason why you could say he's pound number one.
Yeah.
He will literally
I think that's the reason why. I think that's the reason why Dana has accepted that.
Because if Miocic had pulled out of the fight,
he wouldn't have fought Aspinall.
Would he have fought Aspinall?
No way.
Chance. So
no chance.
You know, Jones, to be fair, is a legend, but he does sort of play it safe.
And how do you match Moicano now?
You know,
he's fun. It was fun. Moicano.
You mentioned just now, Paddy Pimblett. You know, Paddy is without an
Moicano's not injured, and
Paddy's choking people out in the gym. You see that clip going around?
Yeah.
The guy's tapping. He doesn't want to let go.
Listen.
Interesting.
But yeah, good old straightener in the
gym. They're both. I'm pretty sure Paddy's a black belt now, or he's a brown belt. He's very good.
Paddy Pimblett's grappling is not to be played with. I'll be honest. Other than Islam and Arman.
And Oliveira, those three, you could say
he's right there. He's probably Gamrot's
you could even say his offensive jiu-jitsu is better than Arman's. You could say.
Yeah. Offensive jiu-jitsu.
Other than Makhachev and Oliveira, who are clear, you could say he's top three.
Gamrot
as well. I mean, that's another name you could throw in there. I don't know if he's been booked into fight yet.
He said. He tweeted, Benil, give me a few weeks and I'll fight you. Because Benil Dariush doesn't have a fight.
It's just kind of like him pulling out has had a bit of a domino effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of put a lot of
but
in a weird
I think my guess is, honestly, I hope Islam turns around before the summer. Yeah, I know Ramadan's coming up and stuff. Yeah. But he had a 4 minute. He had a 4 minute fight with no damage. And you know Charles, if he gets that date, he's training. He's ready.
I mean, are there any pay-per-views coming up just before mid-March?
Nah, it's 312, 313.
Yeah, 313 is already there's already five
the main event.
For that,
There's no way they would put. Nah. That would be.
So, we're probably gonna see him International Fight Week.
Yeah, summer.
Likely. So
it is what it is.
Yeah, everyone's gonna have to kind of. I mean, Sarukian should kind of get a fight in there just to stay active. To be fair.
Yeah. Yeah, or else he won't fight for a long time. Yeah. But then we move to the co-main event. Now, I almost feel like there's a lot to talk about regarding this fight.
For me, this was the people's main event anyway. Even with that Sarukian fight, I was looking forward to this Merab fight. And what a fight! What a performance as well from Merab. You know, there's a lot of ways you could look at this. You know, going into the fight. You know, I was looking at the Umar and Sandhagen fight, and I was thinking, listen, he was taking Sandhagen down, but he couldn't keep him down. And I thought, if he's kind of struggling to keep Sandhagen down, he's going to be in trouble with Merab. But to be fair, you know, Umar did do very well early on in that fight.
First
the
2 rounds.
The second round, clear wins for Umar. 2-0 on the scorecards. Everybody had him up going into the third. And Merab just kind of pulls it out of the bag. You know, his pressure is insane. I think his corner work was very good as well. And there was a lot of criticisms for Umar's corner work. People saying Khabib was just kind of being emotional in there, kind of screaming and shouting.
Yeah,
really giving him
Javier Mendes? He was kind of like...
was like, just kind of giving motivational, like, do you want to be a champion?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, listen, give him some advice technically.
Ultimately, how I feel about this fight is, I don't know, there's different stages of it. When you win the first 2 rounds, which obviously, according to the judges, 2 of them at least, Umar was 2-0 up going into the third. When you got 3 rounds left, you got to win at least 1. Yeah. You have to find a way to just, whether that be the 3rd, the 4th, or you rally for the 5th. For Merab to win 3 rounds in a row, past the 15-minute mark, it's just like, and, you know, when it came down to the interviews throughout the week, you know, I watched them. Umar's like, okay, what does Merab got? He has wrestling and he has cardio. I have cardio too. Well, maybe you don't.
It's conditioning let him down in that fight. That's where he lost the fight because his.
But he did say he's got a broken hand. So, but people.
Merab came into the fight with issues as well.
Staph infection.
His shin was gone and he had a back injury. Apparently.
Staph infection.
Everyone's injured. Everyone's got a bit of an injury going into a fight. You know, people break their hands in fights all the time. You know, if you're a wrestler, if you're a predominant wrestler, why wasn't you forcing the takedowns? How's Merab? Merab broke the record for takedowns attempted.
Yeah.
So Merab wanted it more. At the end of the day, the reason why Merab won the fight was his conditioning, and he wanted it more. And you saw it as the fight went on. He wanted it more. And I don't want to say he broke Umar because he didn't finish him, but Umar was. You look at how Umar looked in the first round, and you look at how he looked later on in the fight.
Yeah.
He almost looked broken.
I mean, I'm
a big Umar fan, but you have to be honest.
Merab, my prediction for the fight was, I thought he was gonna go decision, but I thought he was gonna beat the other way. I thought Umar would win 3, and Merab would win 1 or 2, and it was the other way round. And listen, I've said this, and yesterday further confirmed it for me. Merab has the best cardio we have ever seen in the UFC. He weaponizes his cardio like no one has ever done, and there's honestly, I don't know if there's a bantamweight alive that can handle that. It's as simple as that. Whether you like him or you don't, his style boring. He's striking.
How can you not like him? People that say,
they want flashy knockouts and whatnot.
Mate, what Umar done? What Merab done yesterday was
it's incredible, really
amazing. I couldn't believe it. The way he was 2-0 down, and the way he was just pushing it. That final round where he took him down and points at him, and it takes him down again, and then holds him down. I mean, that was. I
know. The Dagestani lot, they're gonna rewatch that fight, and like Khabib's he's gonna go crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
because they don't take they don't take. But they hardly lose. Islam doesn't lose. Khabib didn't lose.
They did a joint record between Islam, Khabib, and Umar, and it was something crazy, like 65-0 or something.
Yeah, and won because Islam lost. But no, Islam got knocked out earlier in his career. But the thing is, Umar will be back there. I mean, it wasn't a performance where like, it's fraud check. Like, do you know what I'm trying to say? He had success, but ultimately, I feel like he maybe. And until you're in there with Merab, you don't really understand that. This guy will not get tired.
Could have been too soon. People are saying here.
No. I think
before Sandhagen, who had he really beaten? Sandhagen was obviously a
but
fight.
People argued that with Islam.
Yeah, no.
So
it's a good point.
I don't think.
Just look at Merab. The fact that Merab was an underdog was madness as well. How can he be an underdog? Look at Merab's resume. Look at the names on that resume.
But the reason why he's got such an extensive resume is because Aljamain was champion. He would have got the title shot way before that. So he had to keep fighting. Yeah. And he happened to beat everybody else.
He's
but
beating some elite
but
guys.
The reason why he went on such a big win streak before getting the title shot is because his best friend and teammate was champion. So, you know, Umar deserved to be in there. Umar is a top 3 bantamweight in my opinion. If not, he's just... I mean, there's appetite for a rematch in my opinion.
But I don't think they should do a rematch, to be honest.
It
was a good fight, a close fight, but I'd say, I mean, to be honest, you could do the rematch because who else is there?
Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, but O'Malley.
They'll give they would give Sean. Do you know what? If Umar won, 100% Sean would have been next. Yeah.
But
now
that
Merab
would probably deserve a rematch if Umar won, just based off what he's done. The names he's beaten. Nah.
You need a few title defenses before you get an immediate rematch.
But I'd say the way he's been looking, I mean, the way
in the UFC, there's not many champions that would get warranted an immediate rematch. Yeah. If they lost convincingly, Alex Pereira would get an immediate one. I think he's earned that.
Is he, to be fair, because of all those defenses when he was a champion?
John Jones. Yeah. Would get an immediate rematch because he's never lost. Islam would get one, and that's about it. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Jones, of course.
Even if Topuria lost the belt, I mean, I don't know.
Because he's beaten Volk and Holloway.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Going back to that fight, listen, Umar sometimes he will be back there, and I feel like he will fight Merab again probably, or Sean O'Malley, or Peter Yan's waiting in the wings. I mean, the
Son Yadong, you've got Sanhagen.
Son's fighting Cejudo, isn't he?
Yeah, but just the names that are at that weight class,
Yeah.
It's a stacked
Shark
weight
Tank.
class.
Sanhagen's not matched up, so it's like Figueiredo.
Stacked. Yeah.
Just lost to Peter Yan. So I don't know. Like, there's a lot to be done in the bantamweight division, to be honest. But yeah, regarding going back to Merab, if my best guess, Merab, I don't know. Do they make the Sean O'Malley fight again? And they promote it as Sean O'Malley had a bad night. He couldn't defend the takedowns. He will be better, and they promote it that way. Because it went 25 minutes, even though Merab went. Do you know what I'm trying to say? He won convincingly.
If they're not going to give the shot to Umar, then you've got to sort of go the O'Malley route, to be honest. There's no.
Could they give it to Peter Yan?
Peter Yan.
Or does he need one more?
I'm not against Peter Yan versus Umar, to be honest.
Yeah.
A Russian affair. Yeah,
Peter Yan, Umar.
That's
oh my gosh, that's a cracker. Yeah, that is a cracker.
Of course, Umar.
Who do you think would win that, actually?
It's tough, because I'm expecting Umar to take him down, but on the feet, I think Peter Yan would have the advantage.
Umar's a good striker, though.
Yeah, Umar's a good striker. But
even in the fight yesterday, like when they were going into the exchanges and just swinging,
he was definitely quicker. He has a better combo.
You always felt like Merab was gonna eat
Merab was right hand heavy. To be fair, he wasn't really throwing.
He was just chewing his mouthpiece,
biting down overhand rights, but he gets away with it because he's got amazing conditioning and he's pressuring you the whole time.
Everybody, like, when you're an elite fighter, everyone trains. Everyone has good cardio. Why is his cardio so good?
I think it's genetics. I think some people...
You honestly feel like Merab is genetic?
Because, they talk about the whole fast twitch muscle thing, where if you're a guy with knockout power, you don't really have the conditioning. But then there's guys who don't really have knockout power. You look, for example, like Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz. They don't really have that one-punch knockout power. But where they lack in knockout power, they gain it all in conditioning because they don't have the fast twitch muscle. So it could be that whole fast twitch muscle thing. And just genetics, to be honest. And
plus, do you think it's how hard he trains?
How hard he trains, and plus, he comes from like a hard life. He spoke about it.
So does so many other.
Yeah, I know, but some guys, they just, I don't know. Some guys,
they're just built different.
They work harder because of that. He doesn't want to go back to where he was before. On the construction.
So you say he's the hardest working fighter on the roster, then?
To say he's the hardest working is probably a bit of a stretch, but he is one of the hardest working. You can see the way he fights. What other guys will come back from 2-0 down and come out to win a decision? It's
rare. Not many champions
could
do
that. It's not a common thing. So for him to do that, for him to continue to push the pace, smiling between rounds, he's a fun fighter.
He's a mad
Anyone
guy.
who says Merab is boring should stop watching the sport.
And people are saying he's got an argument for being the best bantamweight of all time now. It's a bit early for that now.
I think Aljo's still got way more defenses. So
yeah, but
it is a bit early, but his resume is insane. And I know you mentioned this because Aljo's kind of holding a belt hostage. But listen, Merab is a problem. And listen, people even mentioned the pound for pound list. I don't know where Merab is right now, but
he should be top 5.
He should be sneaking up there because you could say Jones is clear of him pound for pound. Makachev's clear of him pound for pound. Pereira, those two are clear of him. What other champion could you say other than those three? Yeah, okay, Topuria 4 or 3 or 3, whatever. Then other than those 4, there's an argument for Pantoja. Pantoja as well. There's an argument.
No, to
be fair, the Pantoja, gets disrespected. I was about to just forget him as well. But what about Pantoja going up to 135?
Nah, he wouldn't do much in flyweight suits him. And I think he knows that anyways.
Yeah, he may be a bit too undersized, but I think that's the criticism that Dimitri.
What about Duplessis?
Yeah, Duplessis is up there, but would you put Duplessis above Merab in the pound for pound list? That's a good argument, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I mean, if Duplessis beats Sean Strickland convincingly, then probably
he's got Chimaev waiting for him though. Straight after that fight, Dana just basically confirmed it post-fight. Said Chimaev will definitely get the winner of.
Do you think there's a world where Dricus Duplessis can become the best middleweight of all time?
100%. If he beats Strickland, he beats Chimaev.
Is he there?
You've got to give it to him. What? To be fair, Anderson had crazy defenses, but is Anderson's resume better than beating Izzy, beating Strickland twice? If he beats Strickland, and then Whittaker, and then beating Chimaev, I don't think Anderson's resume comes close. Even though he had more defenses, the game's evolved. It's a totally different sport.
It is different.
So Drakus is a menace. This guy.
That's why when Islam says he'll eat him, like that is crazy.
Yeah, and to be honest,
And he said Pereira's too big.
yeah, he needs to just. He's a great fighter, but just calm down because Dustin was stuffing your takedowns. You could even argue him going up to 170. Is he gonna demolish the 170-pound division? Don't let this Moicano win sort of fool you. I mean, no disrespect to Makhachev. It's a great performance. You beat whatever's put in front of you. But let's not let, come on. I've always said Moicano's never been championship level, in my opinion. You saw when he come up against Poirier, who is, on the fringes of the belt. He stopped him, but it was a war. It was a back and forth. So, there's no guarantees he goes up to 170 and becomes champion there. There's no guarantees.
Yeah, that's true.
But one option for him, if we speak on it quickly, Poirier did tweet as soon as the fight was done. He wants a piece of Makhachev. What do you think of that?
I mean, we've already spoken about it might be too early, all of that. I want to see, before Topuria leaves 145, I want to see Diego Lopez Topuria. That is a fight I want to see. I don't really have the appetite for Volk Topuria again because I do feel like, unfortunately for Volkanovski, if they fought 10 times, I think Topuria just gets his hands on him. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's as simple as that. The reason why I say Lopez is because Lopez fights with fire. He's got serious knockout power. Yeah. Compared to Max Holloway at 145. Max Holloway at 155 got knockout pop. Max Holloway at 145 less so. Volkanovski, in terms of knockout power, can't even chat to Lopez. Yeah. And then, Lopez is throwing unlimited submissions if it lands on the ground. So, that's a fight that I need to see at 145 before Topuria moves up. And even if Topuria beat Lopez convincingly this year, no issues. Make the title fight against Islam. There's no one really there at 145 right now for him. But I feel like they're going to stick to their word and give it to Volkanovski. But, for me, I mean, I was hearing Lopez against Yair Rodriguez. What? I get the whole Mexico, Brazil, like all of that. Like, no. Rodriguez lost to Brian Ortega. Lopez eats him every day of the week. Lopez is better than Yair Rodriguez. Yeah.
There's a thing where does Lopez want to just stand around?
The only matchup that if I'm Lopez, if I don't get a title fight and it's given to Volk, the only guy that I want to fight is Movsar Evloev, because that would mean that I get my chance back at avenging a loss, and Evloev is beatable. He is. We saw Aljamain Sterling, take him down, all of that. I feel like with a full camp, Lopez beats Evloev. So if he's not getting a title fight, that is the only guy that I think he should fight.
How you say Lopez is disrespected? You could even say Evloev is a bit disrespected as well, because even though he does edge these decisions, everyone kind of gets at him for nicking decisions, but he's still winning, and he is a monster when it comes to the wrestling as well. His scrambles are amazing. Of course. So he's disrespected as well.
If you had to match up Lopez against Arnold Allen, for example, and Aljamain Sterling, does Lopez beat both of them?
Lopez would beat both.
Well, there you go. So that's what I'm saying. So even
Styles makes fights.
And like they fought, Lopez came in on like how many days' notice, and he had I promise you, that's the only fight if Lopez doesn't get the title fight. Lopez is already number 3. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And so when there's talk about that Yair Rodriguez fight, he just whooped the guy that whooped Rodriguez. People are forgetting Ortega. They thought, Ortega's looking good, all of that. He submitted Rodriguez in Mexico City this time last year. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I have no appetite for that yet. It would be a good fight. But in the landscape of 145, no way.
I mean, it's a fun fight, but it doesn't make sense for Lopez in terms of what he wants to achieve. But then Lopez has to kind of get a fight in because it looks like Volk and Topuria.
Get the Evloev fight in.
So, but then Evloev wants a shot as well.
No, but Evloev's not going to get a shot.
But I know it's
if it goes to Volk, number 1 contender,
has to be
Lopez, Evloev, make it a 5-rounder. Whether that headlines a fight, I mean, it could headline a fight now, or you put it on a pay-per-view, and the winner for that one is 100% the clear contender for the belt at 145. There's no discussion. The winner of that fight, it would be.
Sense. That makes sense.
Of course, it makes sense. So we'll see what happens with that. And then
Jamal Hill versus
Yuri
Prohaska.
Yeah.
Another. Yuri, to be honest, I've got to sort of put my hands up and kind of say I've disrespected him because I saw his performances against Pereira and sort of wrote him off and said, yeah, this guy keeps his hands down, isn't really, technical. But then he showed us, he does have ability. He can be technical. His defense looked very good last night. And
still eats punches, but he was moving his head.
But Jamal Hill, for me, he's in a very bad position right now because, he was talking a lot of mess, after the Pereira loss, saying, Pereira got lucky, this, that. And
to get finished.
And he got finished again by Yuri, a guy who's been finished twice by Pereira. Pereira was in the crowd watching him get knocked out. He come into the fight with his knees strapped up. You could. I don't want to give him an excuse. Maybe he had an injury going into the fight, whatever. But his footwork,
I just think that's his footwork.
Yeah, his footwork has always been. Me and Lou were talking about this just before we came in, and he's got some suspect footwork. There was a video I seen zoomed into his footwork, and I'm thinking, top level fighter, lazy. Former champion. I don't know what he's he's almost tripping over his feet.
I don't think that's the same footwork that we saw when he won the belt against Glover Teixeira.
Something's up.
He ruptured an Achilles. Like, people are forgetting that's a serious injury, and he, I'm trying to say, 205 was a hot potato. But going back to Yuri, right? It's kind of like the Charles Oliveira syndrome a little bit, where it's like everyone feels like against Islam. Well, a lot of people feel like Charles against Islam has his number, but against everybody else in that division,
he's the best of the rest.
He's the best of the rest. I know that he lost to Tsarukian, right? But that's how it felt for a long time, right? And it kind of feels like Yuri. He finished Rakic after a tough fight, and he's just finished Jamal Hill after a tough fight, and he's like, I want the third one. Now, if I'm playing matchmaker at 205, I was actually on my way here. I was thinking, so how do we go about this? So now Pereira's booked, official.
My boy
March.
Kalaev getting his shot finally.
So we'll go in depth about that, but so that's the championship fight is booked, right? So you got Yuri, who's just coming off, other than this fight that just happened last night, he's coming off a loss against Pereira. So I feel like Yuri needs another fight. Now, who that's against is where it gets interesting. Khalil's performance in the last title fight, does it warrant him another number one contender fight? Because he gave Pereira a serious fight.
I'd say that's the move to make.
Yuri Khalil
versus Khalil, and I think Yuri handles him as well. To be honest,
really,
I think Yuri handles him.
Wow.
I think Yuri handles him because Khalil, he's always had this thing where when the fight's going his way, he's a monster. But when it's not going his way, and I got a lot of stick for it around my friends speaking about it. Pereira didn't really knock him out. He sort of just kind of went down. Do you know what I mean?
No, but damage over.
And I know. He
had a lot of cut.
Yeah, no, he had a cut spot.
No. He was damaged.
He saw Pereira took the will away from him. Basically, I don't want to say gave up, but he kind.
But
he took the fight out of him, and it wasn't like Pereira rocked him and he was wobbling. He just kind of went on his kind of crouched down and just kind of.
But he was hurt. Nah. So you're questioning Khalil's heart in that fight?
No, I'm not saying he doesn't have heart. I think that's harsh. But I just think when it gets to a point where it's a back and forth fight where you're fighting a guy who's just as good as you, if not a bit better, and the fight's not going your way, he's good when he's the hammer. I think as the nail.
But you don't think he could be the hammer against Yuri?
I think Yuri, as you just said, is the best of the rest. I think don't look too much into those Pereira performances. Pereira's a
but Khalil looked really good for the first 2 rounds.
He looked good until Pereira figured him out, and then all of a sudden he doesn't look good. Do you know what I mean? I think his performance was kind of.
I think that's a close fight. I gotta be honest.
It could still be a close fight until Prohaska figures him out.
So would you say?
And I think he stops him.
So that could be a number one contender fight.
Yeah, 100%. The winner of Ankalaev, actually, to be honest.
But then you got.
If Ankalaev beats Pereira, they're probably going to give Pereira.
But then
a rematch.
On the London card, you got Jan Blachowicz against Carlos Olberg. A big performance there.
If Blachowicz wins, I don't think he gets in the mix. I don't think he comes back.
Well,
I think if Olberg wins, then that's a new name, fresh blood, fresh meat. I think they could throw Oberg in the mix, and he could possibly fight for the belt.
If Oberg knocked out Jan Blachowicz,
which could happen.
He could have a big claim.
But then Blachowicz could just become a grappler and hold him down and dominate and cruise to a decision. That's a good fight, to be fair. But speaking on the main event that's just been announced, or announced yesterday, Pereira finally defending his belt against Ankalaev, which is by far the toughest matchup for him, because not only can Ankalaev grapple, which is obviously his clear route to victory,
but he said he won't.
He is very, very good on the feet.
But he said
it won't surprise me if he doesn't take him down, because he's not a scrub on the feet, and he's not a guy who just comes in and wings his punches. He is slick. He can box. He's got good defense. He does have the weakness to the leg kicks. He needs to sort that out before he gets in there with Pereira.
Yeah, no, he does.
Because Blachowicz was kicking his shins off, and he was hurt.
Ankalaev's improved since that performance.
If he can improve, if he can fix that issue, then listen, this is not an easy fight for Pereira.
Oh no, of course not.
An easy fight
and if Pereira won that fight against Ankalaev, then he's the.
And those early rounds against Khalil before he figured him out, Khalil was landing on him. Blachowicz, for me, is a better boxer than Khalil. Probably not a better kickboxer, not better Muay Thai.
No, Ankalaev is really good.
Boxing wise, this guy is a menace.
So you say Alex Pereira loses his belt, basically?
If I make an early prediction now, I think Ankalaev gets the job done. I think Ankalaev will be the guy to
without wrestling.
I think he has to mix it up, but he can't be too wrestling heavy, because Pereira will just anticipate and just probably counter him. But if he mixes it up, takes him into deep waters, holds him down, boxes with him, dirty boxing, makes it an ugly fight, I think he can win this fight. But that kind of will hold up the division, because if Ankalaev wins the belt, they're definitely going to do a rematch. And then, we're talking about all the contenders. That doesn't mean anything. They're probably going to hold up the division. So, yeah.
If Alex Pereira wins, where is he starting to get into serious combos?
100% serious combos. And if he wins...
convincingly.
Who is there for him to fight? I think the way it will go is, if he beats Ankalaev, he goes out to heavyweight, in my opinion.
Hopefully
there's nothing else for him.
Hopefully by then, the Jones and the Aspinall fight would be booked.
Hopefully the Jones-Aspinall fight will be booked. And hopefully, if Jones wins, then they do Pereira versus Jones. And Jones beats Pereira, in my opinion. And Jones will then ride off into the sunset as the GOAT and pound number one.
The last few paychecks of his career.
If Jones beats Aspinall, and then he beats Pereira after, who comes up in weight, Pereira coming off how many wins at light heavyweight? Pereira, who is chasing his light heavyweight record, whatever. That's a legacy fight for him if Pereira goes up in weight, and if he beats Pereira, that's an unmatched resume.
Yeah, listen, I'm happy that's been announced. Well, since we're talking about that card, we can talk about the co-main event. Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje as well.
What a fight.
That's gonna be a car crash of a fight. You are leaning towards Hooker, and I'm leaning towards Gaethje. I just feel like you really think.
Yeah, but you know what?
So there's no way it's going decision.
No.
So you think Hooker?
But for me, Hooker's a different guy now. Hooker's not the same guy that stood in the pocket with Poirier winging punches.
He had a close fight with Gamrot though.
I know, but it's just for me, Hooker can use his range. I've not been impressed with Gaethje recently. I'll be honest with you. I know he knocked out Poirier, but his performance against Holloway for me wasn't.
He broke his nose after the first fight.
Yeah, but
the first round.
I know, but that was because of the straight punches that Holloway threw.
No, it was a kick. It was a spinning kick.
Yeah. To be fair, you're right. It was that spinning kick. But then, I don't know. For me, I don't know. Man.
Not so long ago, Justin Gaethje head kicked.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? Dustin Poirier.
He did, but I just think Hooker's on form right now.
Nah.
Hooker's on form right now, and momentum is a big thing in this sport. And I just think that will kind of push him through. I'm not saying he stops Gaethje.
It's whether.
But I think Hooker will surprise you.
No, it's gonna be a war, but I do.
And Hooker's very durable as well.
Yeah.
Other than that Chandler knockout where he got knocked out very early, he's been very, very durable. So we know Gaethje can crack, but there's no guarantees Gaethje.
Do talking about matching up people, Rafael Fiziev. Where is he? Where is he? I know he ruptured his ACL, but he needs to be matched up
again.
You
could say that's an option for
Beneil.
Beneil,
Moicano.
Sarukian could
Paddy.
possibly look at that as well. Yeah, Paddy should stay far away from Fiziev. I can't lie to you.
Really?
Yeah, if Paddy for me should go for Chandler. I keep saying it. That's a fun fight.
Chandler's calling out Arman Sarukian though.
Yeah,
we were just talking about.
He's not
that.
gonna get that fight. Arman beating Chandler doesn't really do much for him. I mean, it's a quick win for me.
Well, he said, I don't mind that fight, but why would I not call out the guy that's beat you twice? Yeah. And it makes sense. It's funny how tables turn though. Like, Arman beat Charles, and now he hasn't fought for the belt yet, and now he's calling out Charles. Even it's just it's crazy.
It's a wild sport.
It's a wild sport. Yeah. But
another good performance last night. We have to speak on the Ridder, and I think you've got a few things to say about Kevin Holland. But the Ridder, put some respect on his name. A very, very talented fighter coming out of Holland as well. And I kind of anticipated he'd do that to Holland because I'm not a big Holland fan. Can't lie to you. I don't really see the hype behind Holland. I just think he's there. He is a gatekeeper. He is the definition of a gatekeeper. He doesn't care about winning belts or anything.
I don't know. I don't know if gatekeeper's the right word anymore. It's one of them ones where, you know, when he first arrived in the UFC, he was fighting so much. I remember like 2020, he was at 185 and he knocked out guys like Buckley and Jacare Souza, and you're like,
another black belt that needs to be investigated as well.
Who?
Kevin Holland.
Yeah. Hey, he's won fights by submission.
Yeah, but I mean, is the Ridder even a black belt? I think I should know this, but I don't know if the Ridder's a black belt.
The Ridder's a good grappler, though.
He's a good grappler. I mean, Chimaev submitted him. Chimaev, obviously, we know he can squeeze, but Chimaev, I think, is the purple belt. So,
do you know what?
Talking of which, belt needs to be investigated.
The Ridder's going down the Chimaev route. You fought Gerald Mershaw, and now you fought Holland. So you're fighting the same guys, but
that middleweight division is an interesting division now. Now you add the Ridder to the mix. You got Baralo, you've got obviously Chimaev, you got Whitaker, you got Adesanya, you got Imavov, you got Strickland, Drakus. You've got some names up there, you know, and there's probably other guys that are missing out right now. But that middleweight division, you could say that middleweight, the bantamweight, for me, those are the two clear divisions in the UFC right now in terms of competition. Welterweight's quality as well, but I just think you know me when it comes to bantamweight.
Yeah, 135 is just moving mad. But
185.
Yeah, no, just going back to Kevin Holland, like they were saying, he doesn't want to live the 170 lifestyle. Yeah. And he's very undersized when it comes to 185 when it comes down to the grappling. So I think he's accepted the fact that he's never going to be champion. But the dangerous thing with that is cool, you've accepted you're never going to be champion, you just want to have fun fights. But the thing is, if you're just having those kind of fights, you could go on a serious skid, and then people are like, well, Holland's lost a fair few fights. Like,
is he not in double-digit losses right now?
I can have a check.
But I think Dana will always keep him around because he'll fight
they're
anybody.
friends, yeah.
And I think it's what he done when all that madness happened with Chimaev and Nate Diaz, where Chimaev missed weight. Yeah. He was the only one that was willing to fight Chimaev and sort of save the night. So because of that, I think Dana has a soft spot for Kevin Holland. But when it comes to competition, when it comes to the competitiveness,
he's lost 4 out of 5.
Yeah, he's not that guy. Like, we have to be honest, he's not that guy, but he's a name. And it's a good name for the Ridder to have on his resume to sort of call out the better fighters in that weight class. So it's a good win for the Ridder.
13 losses.
Yeah, so
26 wins, 30
and he's a young guy as well. What is he, 30, 31? So he's still young, double digits in losses. He's a gatekeeper. Yeah. He's a gatekeeper.
Jalton Almeida was on that card as well, and he disposed of Spivak. You know, the heavyweight division, he's kind of like, I mean, we're anticipating the John Jones-Aspinall fight, but he called out Cyril Gane, which for me makes a lot of sense, especially if they're not going to make the immediate rematch between Volkov and Gane. He would test Cyril Gane's wrestling heavy, and that leaves. I mean, I thought Volkov won that fight, so it's a bit harsh on him, because realistically, the winner of that fight would probably be, especially if Aspinall wins, would be his first title defense. But yeah, man, it's one of them ones where he's a scary grappler at heavyweight. You know what I'm trying to say? I know he got caught by Curtis Blades, just being sloppy, putting your head there, letting someone just land big elbows, and when you weigh 250 pounds, like one or two of those elbows, and it's wraps. So, but it was a very solid win. I think we do need to talk about someone on the prelims where, I mean, in terms of odds, Peyton Talbot was, I
Big
mean,
upset, yeah.
it was gonna be
They
light work.
said him cutting his hair affected his aura.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a bit of a reality check. He's still talented. You know, everyone's sort of writing him off, saying he's done.
I wouldn't write him off.
I wouldn't write him off, exactly. I wouldn't
there's
write him off.
deficiencies in his
Yeah,
in
but
his
he's
takedown.
young. He's young. He's a young fighter. Sometimes it's good to have these losses early on. You can improve your game. You know, he's not done. You know, it's just a bit of a reality check.
But do you know what? Do you know what? And I saw this on Twitter. It's like they were like, don't ever compare Peyton Talbot's come up to Sean O'Malley's come up. And Sean O'Malley was whooping everyone up until he had a contentious win against Peter Yan. That's the level of competition. Peyton Talbot just got whooped. Yeah, for the best part of 15 minutes against Barcelos, the same guy that Umar knocked out into next week.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm trying to say? So Peyton Talbot might end up being a title challenger, top 5, but he's not there yet. And you know, he didn't take a whooping like to the extent where it's like serious damage, but I think that will hurt his ego a little bit.
He got smothered, you know. He got smothered and he got out. The guy he was fighting was a lot more experienced. I mean, the way he fought.
No, but even the
veteran's performance.
Yeah, but even the single leg or the double leg takedowns that he was getting, he should be stuffing that. Yeah. Barcelos, he wasn't fighting Umar.
I mean, to be honest,
or Merab.
Yeah, you're right. It's a reality check, and we'll see what he's made of if he can come back from this. But yeah, no, it's a good fight. You know, to be fair, I'd say overall, what would you say the card in terms of rankings? You know, we always do that out of 10. I'd say it was a good card. You know, 8 out of 10. I'd say.
I'm just a little bit bummed out that you know the main event. It's like it's like 4, 5, 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And you're like, you hear Bruce Buffer saying the main event, and you're kind of like, oh, Moicano, you could do a little something.
I think it's the way the co-main went, the way it was a back and forth 5-round war. We were expecting similar for the main event. Yeah. But yeah, it was the complete opposite. It was a quick job for Makhachev. And, you know, listen, Makhachev can kind of relax now, enjoy himself, go into Ramadan with the belt. And we'll probably see him, like I said, International Fight Week against, hopefully, the winner of Charles and Sarukin if they fight, or Charles if they don't fight.
No. Well, Arman still has to recover from that back injury. We don't know
the extent. You're right.
We don't actually know how bad
it is.
Is
that a good thing though? The fact that we don't know the extent of his injury. That could be him. I mean,
out for time.
Yeah. Exactly.
And talking about as well. Yeah, we're saying Umar could fight if he's got a broken hand. Yeah. We're not getting an immediate rematch. So then Sean O'Malley's just there, like, or Peter Yan's just there, like, all right, perfect. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So
I saw some news just now this morning. Apparently Aaron Pico and Pitbull are both going to be signed to the UFC. So UFC are, you know, and Dana sort of predicted the demise of Bellator and even PFL. The fact that they can't.
I mean, Pitbull was tweeting every week.
Yeah, like they can't give them fights. They almost spent all their budget on Ngannou, who's only got one fight in the whole organization. Jake Paul's been signed, but he's not fighting for them. They're spending all this money, but who's making the money?
Well, to be fair, they're promoting the Usman and Paul Hughes fight quite a bit.
That's coming up soon, to be fair.
They're promoting it, Dagestan v Ireland too. Yeah. So they're pumping a lot of money on that. But yeah, of course. Yeah,
it's just not a good look, and Dana sort of called it because they were all talking about how we pay our fighters better, but I mean, you've got fight. We haven't really seen it. The way Pitbull was going on Twitter, have we seen a UFC fighter go crazy like that recently?
Please. Other than Ngannou. But
Ngannou.
he wasn't going. But obviously talking about pay and whatnot.
But Ngannou made the bulk of his money in a boxing match. Let's be real. The Fury fight, the Joshua fight. That's where he made the bulk of his money. He's not making crazy money. I mean, he fought and won the belt recently, but I doubt he made more than what he made in the UFC for that fight. It was the boxing where he made the significant money.
Well, concerning us UK MMA fans, we've had the main event announced for the March card in the O2. Leon Edwards back on a horse against Jack Della Maddalena. If we talk about that fight quickly, I got to be honest, I have Edwards winning. If it's an early prediction, I have Edwards winning. I think people are quick to forget that Gilbert Burns was probably, a minute 30 before, or even less than that, maybe a minute before winning a unanimous decision against Jack Della Maddalena. I know it's I get it. He landed the knee and he finished him, and the fight's 15 minutes, and you get knocked out 1 second before. Tough. But I think Edwards. I gotta be honest. I think Edwards could grapple Jack Della Maddalena. I feel like I know it would be mainly striking, but
Edwards can grapple. People forget. Edwards
and
can grapple.
and it's the good old.
Was he not the first guy to take Kamaru Usman down?
Yeah.
Gunnar Nelson, who I always mention, he took him down, dominated him on the match. He's a very underrated grappler. It's just the fight against Bilal. People look at that.
But it is that argument whether that was an off night. Yeah. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
But the whole off night stuff for me, I don't really like that whole thing. I just think it was Bilal coming into the fight on good form, and Bilal had the perfect game plan. If Jack Maddalena wants to win, he needs to look at that performance. Minus the wrestling, he's not a better wrestler than Bilal. That same pressure, the way you beat Edwards is put him under pressure and make him fight going backwards. Edwards is not the same fighter going backwards as he is going forwards. At range, Edwards you could still say is the best welterweight. At range, kicking your shins, keeping you at the end of his jab, 1-2. Anytime he closes distance, he throws that elbow that he throws.
Do you know what that?
At range is a problem.
That has a Leon Edwards unanimous decision.
If Maddalena can't close the distance, if Maddalena can make it ugly and dirty and close the distance and push Edwards to the fence and make him fight going backwards, then he can win the fight. That is how you beat Leon Edwards, in my opinion. And Kamaru Usman was doing it until he got caught with the head kick in that rematch.
But even in the third fight, he was stuffing a lot of Kamaru's takedowns. Do you know what? I'm gonna give Edwards the benefit of the doubt and say that wasn't the best. Or obviously, it wasn't the best. Edwards against Bilal, and Bilal had his perfect night, so he beat him convincingly. But I still do feel like Edwards is a better fighter than Jack Della Maddalena at this point.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree. And the fact that Leon Edwards has sort of had a
he's gone quiet.
He's laid low. I reckon he's been working. He's
pissed.
He feels disrespected. People forgetting what he's done, and he
was talking like Bilal was little man.
Yeah,
it's quick food. So sometimes when
it's an ego thing as well. Maybe his ego took a bit of a hit, but
if he comes out, puts on a vintage performance against Jack Della Maddalena, then
he kind of has to as well. I mean, how old is Leon right now? I'd say Leon is mid to late 30s.
Yeah, something like that.
He's probably 35, 36. You could say.
I wouldn't say 36.
You could say this is sort of his last.
33.
Oh, jeez.
He's still got time.
I got it completely wrong.
Yeah, 36 is crazy.
Yeah, 36 is madness. Yeah, listen, he's got plenty of time. He's still young. And, listen, he's hopefully we see a good performance out of him against Maddalena. And if he beats Maddalena, you could say that earns him a title shot.
We got a couple minutes left. Let's preview Adesanya against Imavov. Let's talk about that quickly.
That is a very interesting fight because obviously is his first fight after that defeat against Drakus.
First non-title fight for a while.
Izzy needs. I don't know where Izzy's at, sort of, because striking wise, you've got to give Izzy the edge. But Imavov is no slouch on the feet.
And he's training with Rob.
Yeah, he's training with Rob. Early predictions, I'll probably say Izzy decision, but don't rule out Imavov, who's also on good form.
What's the path to victory for Imavov though? Because I don't feel he's not gonna grapple. Is he?
He can't. I'd say grappling, they're pretty even. To be fair, they're not really grapplers, both of them. I know he's from Dagestan, but he was raised in France. He trains in France.
Yeah, he's
a striker.
If it's a clean kickboxing technique, you still have to favor Izzy. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
it's a high level fight.
It's a high level fight. It's a high level fight. But they did do Izzy a favor not matching up against Baralho. Because I gotta be honest, if it was Baralho at the other side of the octagon,
or even Chimaev, imagine they put him up against Chimaev.
Of course, I'd favor Chimaev against Izzy. But I'm saying Baralho would. He's a mixer. He'll strike. You're close to the fence. Take down. Strike. And what he did to Cannonier was a madness. That fight was a movie in the Apex. So, what they doing with Baralho, man? Well, they got to give him a serious fight. Actually, Whittaker Baralho, woo, that's not a bad little scrap.
No,
hopefully,
that's a good fight.
Whittaker said he wants to come back like April.
Where's your boy Costa? Where's he at?
Bro, Paulo Costa, I don't even know what he's doing.
Yeah, man. Could you say that's pretty much could you say that's the biggest waste of talent in the UFC in recent years? In terms of talent, I mean, you could say he's talented. He had a lot of hype going into the fight. Do you remember his performance against Hendricks when he first came up on the scene?
That Romero fight.
Or
off the top of my head,
you're thinking, is that a big waste of talent?
Off the top of my head, I can't say. But if I had time to think about certain names, I know we're forgetting certain names. Like hot prospects that didn't live up to it.
He's up there. He's up there at least. You know, because he had a lot of hype.
Darren Till.
Yeah, Darren Till, of course, is up there as well. A lot of guys who have a lot of hype, who perform well early on and just kind of fade away. And you could say was Costa's contract saying? Maybe 1 or 2 fights left.
Yeah.
Do the UFC re-sign him? You've got guys like Baralio coming up. You've got guys like the Ridder. Is there a need for Costa to be in the division?
Yeah, I don't know.
Could PFL be on the cards?
Yeah, maybe, but the next fight for him is going to be key, 100%. So I'd agree with you going back to it. We'll just do the main and co-main quickly. So I think Adesanya, because it'll be a clean kickboxing fight. There won't be any wrestling involved in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. I see him. I don't see a finish, unanimous decision. And Izzy. He can't afford to lose. I've got to be honest, because then it's just...
Izzy's getting on, actually. I was talking about guys that are getting on in
age. He's 36 or something.
Izzy's 36, 37, so this is almost his last run as well. He has to win.
Another guy who kind of has to win, because is Michael Venom Page.
That fight makes no sense, you know.
It's going to be a movie.
I know, but it makes no sense. This guy's a welterweight. You got Shara, who's kind of on the rise.
That just shows...
He wants to be a champion. Beating MVP is going to do nothing for Shara.
It's just a fun fight.
The guy's not ranked at middleweight.
It's a fun co-main.
I know it's a fun fight, but he's not ranked at middleweight. It does nothing for Shara. MVP's coming off a loss at welterweight. Yeah. Shara's not going to go for a takedown. MVP, of course, his Achilles heel is the wrestling. It's a chess match on the feet, but that's all it is. It's a fun fight, but it's a nothing fight in terms of progression.
Does that show that MVP doesn't feel like he's going to be champion at 170 then?
What else? What else can you say? I mean, it's crazy. You know, Ian Gary out-grappled him. You know, that is not good. Look, all the grapplers at welterweight. If Ian Gary is holding you down, you're in trouble.
Nah, 100%.
But for Shara, a talented fighter, I say Shara edges it. I think they're both good strikers.
Really?
I think they're both
if
good
it's
strikers.
A clean kickboxing fight, you think Shara edges it, yeah?
Because MVP's got a weird style where he just blitzes in with the right hand. But Shara's probably more technical. Shara has more weapons.
And more power.
And Shara's more power, and Shara's the bigger man. So they always say a bigger fighter that's talented will always be a smaller fighter who's also talented.
Other people on that card, Pavlovich, Rosenstrike, that's going to be someone's getting knocked out. Aliskerov against Andre Muniz.
That's a good fight, you know, Rosenstrike and Pavlovich.
Yeah, so they've done a decent little fight night in Saudi Arabia, but that's all for today. Like I said, make sure to watch out for the clips of this episode. They'll be on our TikTok at PunchesandPundits. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube. And on the audio platforms, make sure to download the episodes. Peace. We're out. See you soon.